Oh,
Hi, Lynn.
Hi.
hi. I think it was just glitching or something, but I'm here.
Oh, it's technology, my love. Hi, welcome, Lynn.
Thank you for having me. Good to see both of you.
You
You
too.
too. So, welcome to this week's edition of Two Rare Psychic Mediums. Well done. Where our guest this week is Lynne Stukart. Did I pronounce that right, Lynn?
You did.
Okay. And you are a sound healer. Is that right? We see all the gongs behind you.
Yes, I am a professional musician and also a sound healer.
Tell us more about that for people who've never heard of a sound healer.
So, sound healing and sound therapy, they kind of fall in that same category where you're using vibration to regulate the nervous system, to come back to center, balance your chakras, anything that is bothering you from physical ailments, spiritual, that just helps you get back in alignment. And I work with a lot of clients who have, physical pain. They might have some overwhelming stress, which of course a lot of us have right now. So just helps you release all of that, get your energy centers back into alignment and regulate your nervous system.
Okay. So tell me if I was a client and I was looking for some healing. First of all, how would I find you? What does that process look like?
So you mean reaching out to me?
Yeah, from the reaching out to booking the appointment to my first session, what does that look and feel like?
So first we just connect and you share what you're dealing with. And while we don't claim to heal anything, we're allowing the body to start healing itself with the right environment. We book a quick introductory call for about 20 minutes, just kind of talk about what you would like to work on. And then we set up an appointment, and a sound bath or sound therapy session lasts about an hour. It can last longer than that, but typically an hour is a really good amount of time. I can do shorter sessions too. I work with one-on-one clients, small groups, and then large sound baths. My largest sound bath to date has been about 600 people.
Oh my gosh.
Yes, so that was really exciting. And then, we get you into the state of, we're going to release this stagnant energy and allow the sound to do the work, regulate the nervous system. So most of us are sitting in fight or flight and freeze and fawn, which is where we're dysregulated, or we call disease, where we're just not feeling well. It could be anything from headaches, anxiety, overwhelm, migraines, to physical pain. Some people have arthritis, and then we do the sound bath, and then afterwards we do a little bit of time of integration, of reflecting on what we did. And probably the most important part is to set these intentions of what we're trying to get from the sound healing session. So
Yes.
there's Mr. Jonathan Goldman, who I followed for quite some time, who is a very famous sound healer, and he talks about how we take the frequency and we then add in intention, and that's where the healing begins. So I think the intention is such an integral part of this, where if you're just sitting there listening to a sound bath, that's wonderful and it will still have some effects. But once we set this intention of what are the goals, what are you trying to achieve, then that's where the magic starts to happen. Depends on the client. So for instance, last night I did a sound journey for, and I basically take people on what I call a sound journey. Even though I'm not a shaman, when we drum, the drum takes us into theta, so that we have different brainwave states. So, when we're sleeping, we're in delta, and then just right above that is theta. And theta is where you're in this imaginary state, you're in meditation, and that's where you start to really connect with the spiritual realm, if that's what you're wanting to do. And that's kind of how I found my spiritual gifts, is through sound.
Amazing.
And then
What?
basically it kind of depends on like the client and what they're pulling forward. I don't ever want people, if they want me to go there, I can do those things. But as you know, it's such a gift to be able to share these spiritual gifts with another person. So you want to make sure that they're in agreement, that you're not crossing energetic boundaries. And I do, when I channel, a lot of that I channel through the frequency and with the sound itself. I may speak quietly, but I want my clients to stay in that theta state where they're deeply relaxed. And I think sometimes if you're not careful, it can kind of start taking them back out of that, at least during the sound journey. And then I can also, after the session, I can do some reading for them too.
Did it come first that you were a musician and then this came later, or vice versa?
Yeah, so I started playing a musical instrument when I was 9, and then I'm professionally trained. That's what I went to school for. I play professionally as a musician, and how I found sound therapy work is, I always knew music was deeply connected to who I am as a soul, and I always felt like there was something more. And there were certain instances in my life where I was just dealing with a lot of burnout and overwhelm and anxiety. And, I have more of my story online, but I got to a crossroads where I was having some really incredibly challenging moments in the classical world and feeling just this incredible burnout. My health started to get even worse. I went from, having some headaches and not feeling great to eventually having an autoimmune condition. I had a terrible hand injury. And I feel like and you ladies know this, that the universe will always whisper. It's always whispering. And I could hear it whispering, but I wasn't really sure what I was hearing. It was kind of like, oh, I'm just going to keep powering through all of this,
Yeah,
and I'll figure it out, right? That next achievement will make me happy. And
absolutely.
it doesn't really, the more you push and the more that you're trying to check off boxes and you're still not fulfilling your soul's purpose, it starts to, it's just not, it doesn't work. And so I say, like, and then it was definitely shouting at me. And the hand injury that I had in several years ago was I fell on vacation in Mexico over one little step. And I do feel like and right before I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience, almost like spirit was like getting ready to shake me up. And anyway, so I had to go through surgery. I call it reconstructive surgery because it was a really bad ligament tear. I was facing my classical life of how am I going to do this? Who am I when I can't play my musical instrument? So a friend of mine said, who's also a massage therapist, said, "Hey, Lynn, why don't you look into sound therapy or sound healing?" And I said, "You mean like the bowls?" And she said, "Oh yeah, but you're already a musician." So it was like little angels are singing in the background. It was almost like, here we go. And so I decided to go get certified. And I love the science behind sound healing. It's not all the woo. I call myself a scientific woo. So I went and I did all the training. And while I was as that started, I started, because part of this is you want to also be going to sound baths and experiencing that, and then being in meditation. And it was at that junction is where I started to have these spiritual experiences where I was really like, something's happening. This wasn't just like your imagination. And I was back in touch with my intuition because I wasn't pushing all the time. And, I'll be happy to share some of those really cool stories, but I always say that the door of sound healing was like the door opened, and then it's just this universe of people and experiences and instruments, and now the spiritual realm that
Right.
it's so hard to put into words sometimes, but and then too, then you start to meet other people who are having these experiences too, right? Where you think and I've been told I'm a psychic by a couple psychics, and I know things that I just don't know how I know them, right? And it's because you're connecting to the spiritual realm and you're receiving messages. And I do a lot of that with sound. I always have to have some instrument usually with me, even if it's super quiet, because that really helps me lock in even faster.
Do certain instruments do certain things?
I think it kind of depends on the person. So there's a lot of talk out there about like certain frequencies do certain things, and we don't really have any physical proof of that.
Right.
We may have those experiences, but science is still measuring. So what I do is, some people don't like crystal bowls, so I honor that. If they find that sound is just not calming to them, then I don't play crystal bowls. Gongs, which if you can see the video, I have, there's 4 behind me, but I have another one too that isn't in the room. And gongs played, well, and not at a super loud volume. If you've ever been to a gong bath, sometimes they're really wailing on the gongs and it can get really loud. And what we don't want to do is have it be so loud that it starts dysregulating someone's nervous system, which is exactly what we're trying
Yeah.
to get out of. So I do some gong work, and I also play flutes, world flutes. I find that people like the Tibetan bowls; they love the gongs. And then my passion is drumming, because that's really where very quickly we can get somebody into those lower brainwave states where they can start getting out of fight or flight. And that's where the journeys start to happen. So if you have studied any kind of shamanism, there's always a drum involved. 90% of the time that shamans are drumming, and that's where you're going to connect to the spiritual one. Of course, you don't have to have a drum, but I drum almost all in every single sound bath, because that's where people are having those experiences the most. Other people love the gongs. They think that that's very healing, and so it kind of depends. Like if you are sound sensitive, so I've had some clients that have come before and they're just their nervous systems just don't like certain sounds, then we identify what they don't care for. That's not very common, and then I go with the instruments that they find calming, because I think that's important, that people feel comfortable and safe.
So if someone comes to you for a healing, is it a one and done, or do they have to keep coming back? Like, what would you recommend?
So I think with sound healing, my experience is this is energetic hygiene. So just like you're balancing your chakras and you're fine tuning your energy. While you don't have to go to sound baths for the rest of your life, you could. But one sound bath is going to definitely help you feel better. But if you really want to start doing a deep dive and addressing issues, so let's say you have arthritis or that, and those are more chronic conditions, I recommend doing several sound baths. And you may want, just like you go to the chiropractor and the acupuncturist is, I don't think I've ever gone to one doctor one time for something that I'm dealing with on a regular basis. So think of it as just like energetic hygiene. You're just going to go maybe once a month. Some people go once a week. And then of course, as you're connecting with someone, you may see them one time and they loved it, but they just, so it really depends. But I like to say anywhere from 4 to 6 sessions if you're really trying to drop in to what's happening, what you're trying to address. I had a client come to a sound bath a couple of weeks ago, and she said to me that she has had chronic terrible arthritis for many years and has pretty severe pain all the time. And within one sound bath, that pain was completely gone. And she hadn't experienced that really ever. And of course, this is without any kind of medication or plant medicine.
Amazing.
So it's beautiful. Like it just feels, and of course the sound is doing the work, and then the body is doing the work. So for something like that, where it's a chronic condition, you may want to do it, on a regular basis, until, your symptoms start to subside. But usually some people might want to do one and done, but most of the people that I see are coming back regularly.
I love that.
I have a question. So when they come to see you in your place, or you maybe do it remotely, do you incorporate like yoga or a bath or, a massage itself to help them even more?
So I work with an acupuncturist, and so we can have her set up. So I do in person and virtual. So obviously it's virtual, we're not going to be doing massages or things like that. But I think too, yes, it's great to like get into a relaxed state. So there could be like light yoga. I have some clients who are not big fans of like serious yoga. So it'd be more like yoga nidra, or the more calming yogas that kind of just get you into a relaxed state where you're doing some somatics, right? Where you're stretching, just starting to get relaxed. And then I think the sound is going to do all of that for us. But some people like movement, and I'll see in sound baths too, where I'll say to people, move as you feel like you need to move. And some people will go into yoga poses during a sound bath. Others are asleep, snoring, right? So I have a great chiropractor, and her feeling is this, that if you're doing like an acupuncture treatment and chiro, and then you're doing a sound bath, that's a lot for the nervous system. So we just want to make sure we don't overwhelm the nervous
Yeah.
system. So I'd always say like light somatic work, little yoga, and then going right into the sound healing itself. But you know, everybody's so individual. I always say like going with what really works for you, your body, and what you're trying to achieve.
So how did you transition into becoming a psychic medium? Like what did that journey look like?
So when I was doing a lot of meditation in my training, I was, you know, up till then I would always have these, you know, premonitions, and I could like read people in a room. And even when I was 7, I remember saying to my mom something, and she said to me, "Oh, stop doing that." And you know, I could just read people, and I could almost hear their thoughts. And she told me that was, you know, not nice. So I kind of thought, okay, this is not good. I don't want to do that anymore. But as I started in the sound healing realm, and realizing, you know, I'd been so sick with this autoimmune condition that I said something has to change. I'm going to start getting back in touch with who I am, what I'm about, and what I'm here to do. And I started to hear like channeled messages. And the first was, I remember I was sitting actually in this exact same spot, and I'm meditating, and all of a sudden I felt a presence over my left shoulder, a very kind, loving presence. And it said, "Hello, Lynn, I'm Charles." And it was like it was in the room. And it was as clear as day. And I knew I wasn't crazy. You know, I've shared this. My husband knows the whole journey. And of course, he's not really, he's into this, but not really into this, if that makes sense.
Right.
So that was like the first thing where I was hearing messages. And then I have a friend that I met in California. And the reason why I'm sharing this is because it ties into the story. And she has the same autoimmune condition. And she said, you know, I'm going to connect you with this incredible psychic. And you know, she can help you with this autoimmune condition. But what happened on that call was more about my energetics of what I was. She said, okay, so now I'm reading a lot of things. And the first person she connected with was my dad. And my dad had passed away about the same, you know, a couple years before my hand injury. And that was another devastating loss. And so she started saying things that only my dad would know, right? And then she started channeling my grandmother, and it was, and it felt so real. It was almost as if I was having conversations with them. And in that process, I kept thinking, well, I don't want to feel so dependent on another person that I can't do these things myself.
Right.
And since then, I connect with those spirits regularly. I can sense there's other energies in the house that are very positive. There's spirit guides. Some of them come with me on the sound journeys because they're an integral part of the sound itself. So I've made connections with the Native American spiritual realm. And even as a young girl, I would be, you know, my parents would take me out and I would see Native American art, and I would just be fascinated with it. It was as if it was like a past life.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, like, you know, things. So that was another revelation of that. I had this connection, and the same psychic that I've worked with too, on these autoimmune things. She has confirmed. I mean, it's as if she's like, yes, don't doubt yourself. You're having these experiences. And then of course I've worked with you, Dee, too. You know, you've said that, I mean, it's funny how the two of you will almost say the exact same thing, which is really beautiful as well. And it's just confirmation that, you know, you're not crazy, you're not imagining things. And so what I've picked up from the spirit guide that comes on these sound journeys, and there's several of them, there's also a psychic in our area, and she has seen these spirit guides there too, who come, they're peaceful, they're in ceremony, they're holding people, they're helping healing. Now, for the person who's not into that, they're going to be like, that's a little crazy. But I think to myself, we believe in heaven, or, you know, if you believe in heaven and angels, right? That's still the spiritual realm. And I feel that if somebody's coming from the other side and they're guiding us on our healing journey, that's even more powerful, because they're holding that energetic space. And,
Yes.
you know,
Holding the space.
Yes, the holding space. And, you know, they'll sometimes they'll actually communicate through the drum for me. So sometimes I'm drumming, but I'm not drumming, if that makes sense. Like there's another presence in the room who starts drumming too, and this is super woo for people who aren't in the woo. But it's all peaceful. It's I'll hear their conversations a little bit of like, and if you know much about the Native Americans and what happened to them during the settlement of this country, it's it's really tragic, and they were very, very peaceful humans, and they're so connected to the land and to the spiritual realm, and honoring each other and honoring the land and honoring the animals. And so I pull on that because that's what they want to share. And other people in the room who are sensitive to that will actually share with me afterwards. This is what I experienced. So they know they're there too. And sometimes
Lynn, it's like they're your backup band.
yes, they're kind of a backup band, but I feel like it many times my husband will say, so did so and so come visit at the sound bath? And I'll say, they were there, but they were like, no, you lead this time, right? There,
Isn't that amazing?
it is really beautiful. And for a while I thought, like, why me? Why are they picking me?
Why not you?
And I know, I think it's because they know I am a compassionate, empathic, intuitive, and like, what better person to like share this with that's in the physical realm from the spiritual world.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you one thing, Lynn, while you were speaking, that came through for you, a message for you. Wasn't expecting this because I'm not even tuned into you. You also have some telepathic gifts
Mm,
that I feel like very soon you may start experiencing, or you may start having some type of validation about that.
mm.
So, little heads up. And again, was not planning on that.
Thank you for sharing that. Yeah,
Sure.
I do feel that there is so much more.
Oh, yeah.
And I just feel like sound is the gift that just keeps on giving, without it sounding cliche, and it just continues to open these doors of understanding. And whenever, there's so much going on in our world, and we're all a lot of people are looking for external validation, right? They want,
Yes.
they want approval, they want acceptance, they want to fit. And while those are important things, if we look back into even the Native Americans, being in a tribe was like life or death, right? That was your sustenance, that was your food, that was your safety. And so
Right.
as humans in this culture, we do want to have our tribe, people that we can relate to, and makes us feel even more human. And at the same time, knowing that we don't need that external validation. Our soul does not need external validation. It comes into this being, and it already knows. It knows
That validation, though, is part of the human experience.
absolutely.
And that's where so many struggle with that self-love, self-esteem,
Yeah.
right? It's that external validation to tell us we're worthy.
Yes. 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 And so there, it's the dichotomy.
Dichotomy, yes.
Our soul knows, but our human form is second guessing. And
Right.
what I love about sound is, if I'm feeling really like dysregulated, or I'm having a lot of stress and not knowing what's next, I'll go sit in front of the instruments, I'll play, and I would say 99% of the time I feel so much better. So I'm giving myself sound baths too.
Do you ever recommend certain hertz vibrations, HZ? Do you call them HZ or do you call them hertz?
We call them hertz. So even
Okay.
in the classical world, when an orchestra sits down and they tune to A440, that's the A that the orchestra tunes to. And in this profession, we base everything on 440. And then there's a lot of talk about the 432 and how it's better, and then there's a lot of conversations around that. And they've done studies, and they cannot actually prove that 432 is a better frequency than a
Sure.
440 tune. So, and it's, if that resonates better with another person, I say that's what you
That's
want to
it.
go with. And it's only 8 hertz difference, which is not a huge amount. So some of if you've heard of binaural beats, so binaural
Yes.
beats are where, you want to be listening with earphones or earbuds.
Right.
And one ear you have a a specific pitch or frequency. The other ear, which is separate on another channel, is doing another frequency. And the difference of those two pitches, subtracting them from one another, is going to be that brainwave state. So if you have a theta state, it's going to be a specific number. Now, as far as like tuning forks, the Western culture has assigned those to the chakras in the body, right? So C is your root, going all the way up to the crown, which is your Abi. I think that if that works for a person, I think that's okay. What I think is like the quality of the sound is important. Like, how resonant is it? Does it have a deep fundamental? And fundamental means like the lowest pitch off something. So if a big singing bowl, I was playing a singing bowl that was one of the foot bowls that you can stand in. And personally, I didn't think it was the best quality, and what was happening, even though you were hitting it was low, I didn't think it had a very good quality of sound. But if you take another bowl that's like just a better quality bowl and you ring that, it drops you in. So it's what happens within that are what we call harmonics, and it's kind of the wah-wah part where it's deeply entraining the brain. So as far as specific pitches, we can say, I'm more about like the notes that we're playing. So for instance, if I play C and G and they're well tuned together, that's what we call a perfect fifth. So when I play that perfect fifth, it is extremely balancing. It's very harmonic to the body. I can also just repeat a single note, or I can do an octave, which is 8 notes above that. And that's very calming as well. So if we go back to that C, that's supposedly the root chakra, that same sound that you're playing can also, with intention, help balance the other areas as well. So I believe that I'm more intuitively pulled to what I feel needs to happen. But if somebody believes that 417 is good for A, B, and C, there's the love frequency of 528. I'm
963 is the heart, and I sometimes recommend that for clients if I feel like there's a lot of grief stuck in that area.
Absolutely. So I think that yes, with intention, I believe that be true. Absolutely. And at the same time, some people don't have a lot of instruments that they might be able to afford. For instance, if you're familiar with Eileen McCusick's work, she balances the bioenergetic field. So she calls it biofield tuning. And she does that with like one fork. I have one of her forks. It's called the Sonic Slider, and it's really powerful. So she feels that you can tune the entire biofield with one fork.
I have 2 coming in today, actually tuning forks, and I've never used them before, but something drew me to them. I don't know why yet. I don't know what I'm supposed to do with them.
Yes.
But do you use them a lot?
I use tuning forks mostly like small groups. So for instance, one-on-one, yes. And then you've got different types of tuning forks where they are the unweighted ones. So that when you ring them, you can hear them.
Yeah.
So one way you can do that is if you have the weighted tuning forks, which have like the little things on the top of the bars, those are to be used on the body, because when you ring them, they're not very loud. So a weighted tuning fork would be on the body.
Okay.
So you could do the different chakras. You could go to a certain area. Let's say your back hurts, you could do it in that area. When our cat was sick with cancer, I would do the tuning fork on him, and he would you could tell it was like, oh, thank you, Mama. I feel so much better. And he wasn't really big into sound healing. Some of my animals absolutely love it. He was a little more feisty, but towards the end of his life, he was coming in and actually laying next to them, almost asking, because it was bringing him some comfort. So you can use, for instance, if you've got 2 tuning forks and let's say they're a C and a G, or if you've got a pair that are coming that are specifically a specific frequency match, you can ring them and then place them on either side of the head, a distance away from the ear, and you're going to hear that, and it almost creates somewhat of a binaural beat as well.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. So
I might have to reach out when they get here from Amazon today.
Absolutely. I'll be happy to help.
Lynn, what do I do?
I know, right? I'll be happy to help.
If Erica, did you have any more questions?
Yeah, I do. So when Dee brought you, you know, the that you do, let's say this right, sound healing. I knew about some of the stuff with sound healing, not a whole lot. Like I knew people might use the drums, chimes, rattles, that kind of thing. But I also wanted to touch on a little bit like why somebody would do that, and because I really didn't know the whys of it. And I think people would come to you because they want to have, I wrote it down, deep relaxation, decreased anxiety, emotional release, like by laughing and crying, heightening their intuition, clarity, vivid imagery, maybe in their dreams or something like that, and decreased pain. So those are a couple of things that I read about people would see you for. But are there other things people would also come to you for?
Um, so we can, in sound healing, depending on your training, we can really address many of those same issues. And I would probably add to that connecting with the spiritual realm, being able to connect to your higher self, having expanded consciousness. For instance, I have somebody that comes to my sound baths frequently, and she came to the first sound bath, and then after it was, I think after the second time she came to one of them, this wasn't a one-on-one client, but she is now, and I saw her out and about, and she's like, hey, I just wanted to share something with you, that I've been going to therapy for my trauma for 13 years. And after one sound healing session, I feel better in that hour than I have felt after 13 years of talk therapy. And so we're not disparaging talk therapy, but what happens if you're talking about your trauma is it can be very activating, right? You can feel like sometimes if I'm talking about the horrible things that have happened to me, it can be re-triggering, and it also takes us right into that fight or flight because we start reliving what just happened. And so to me, it's just like pressing the imprint even farther in, but that doesn't mean you don't want to talk, because part of healing is moving that. But if that's what you're doing in every session is kind of rehashing something, and you're not getting relief through other modalities, so there's EMDR, there's tapping, there's sound healing, so many of them work. And as you know, some people love chiropractic and other people don't. Some people like acupuncture, other people won't go because they're too afraid of a poke in the,
or they don't like to be touched.
Right. They're very highly sensitive. So the thought of somebody being that close to them. So anything that you think about that can affect the body and the biofield can be addressed with sound. And
it's good. Yeah, it's good. Now people can kind of say, oh, I need her. Now I know what she does. I need that.
yeah.
I actually have a client that I want to refer to you, Lynn.
Thank you. I love that. I think what I'm experiencing, and this is so beautiful, I have to share this with you. Somebody came to a sound bath, and I didn't know she was pregnant, and she was laying fairly near to me, and I could sense that there was another something else there. I was like, I think there's something else there, but I couldn't, I'm not trying to invade anybody's privacy. And afterwards, she came up to me and she said, I just wanted to share with you that I am 4 months pregnant, and I felt the baby move for the first time in this sound bath, and the baby was like moving around and like almost dancing. And she said, thank you for that. Not only do I feel better, but my baby is like, let's go. So
baby's doing high kicks in there.
Yeah, so it's so wonderful just for the human body. And yeah, and I mean, even the drum, and so in the womb, the first sense that forms is your sense of sound. You hear before you see. And so we're innate, and everything in our world is based on vibration and energy. So it just makes sense. And I think it's really cool to hear that kind of feedback.
I love that. So if somebody wanted to get a hold of you to book a session with you, how would they do that, Lynn?
So they can go to my website. And I don't know if you want me to say it here or,
Yeah,
so
please.
LynneStukart.com. So LYNNESTUKART.com. And my calendar will be updated by the end of the day. But you can also reach out to me through the contact form if you have some like specific questions and you don't want to book something right away. And then I do packages. If you want to just do one and see how that feels, it's probably better to sign up for 4 or 5 sessions, and I do packages for that too. So you can reach out through social media as well. I'm in Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn under Lynne Stukart. And you know, you can reach out whatever way feels the most comfortable. And my email is just lynnestukart@gmail. So those are all the ways you can reach me.
Well, thank you for being our guest on here today. We learned so much. It was really nice to have like a different perspective on how music can be so therapeutic and yet so divine, I guess is the word I'm looking
Right.
for. So thank you again. I am Dee Hampton. You can reach me at Divine Soul Connections. No, divinesoul-connections.com. And my beautiful co-host, Erica Silvers.
Yes, Erica Silvers. You can find me at psychic-medium-erica-silvers.com.
Every time she says it, I want to giggle.
I know, me too.
It's a lot of dashes.
Well, thank you, Lynn. It was great
Thank
talking
you,
to you.
Lynn.
Learned a
We will
lot.
talk soon. Take
Thank you so much
care.
for having me.
Sure.
Bye now.